Joining me now is Angelo Carusone, President and CEO of Media Matters, Ben Collins, NBC News senior reporter. Angelo, I want to start with you. What is excessive scrolling, and was Media Matters excessively scrolling and faking the symmetry or the close association of content with Nazi stuff?
I think that they're trying to describe just the general use of Twitter. It's like that's what you do on Twitter. You look at your feed, and then it refreshes. And that's sort of it's just like they use the word manipulate the public, but even their own statements acknowledge that everything that we reported was completely accurate. So that's what I think they mean by it. They're just trying to make it sound dastardly. And in terms of the more broad issue here, the thing I would just point out is that this was one of many reports, and we're not the only people to have this phenomenon. We've been pushing on this issue, specifically on pro-Nazi and sort of Hitler content, since August. And X has been engaging, saying, hey, we're going to fix this. We're ramping up our brand safety stuff. They're the ones making claims that they are supposed to be preventing ads from running alongside, adjacent to this kind of extremist content. So it doesn't really matter how we used it, how many times we hit refresh. If ultimately the ads shouldn't be there in the first place, because that's the standard that they're setting, and it shows that they're not doing the very thing they're saying. And that's what the report was designed to illustrate.
And Ben, you check Twitter so that we don't have to, as I described your job. I mean, you probably do a lot of excessive scrolling, because I can say that just as a former user who's jumped off the platform because of the increasing sort of Nazi vibe of it, which it used to be in the early days, 2008, 2009, when I first got on, it was awful. And then it got awful again. And a lot of people just don't want to use it anymore. Number one, is the phenomenon of increasing sort of Nazi-like and anti-Semitic content, is that something in your reporting that's real? And number two, how is it that advertisers are only now deciding to get off the platform? It surprised me that it just happened only recently.
I have no idea why it took so long, but I will say it is absolutely real. And I will say also that there's a reason you have to excessively scroll to do that. And I mean that technologically. Elon set a precedent where looking under the hood of Twitter was turned off effectively. There's a thing called API access, where you can basically look at the fundamentals, the technological, the actual amount of stuff that's going through Twitter at any given moment. Researchers used to be able to look at this stuff, but when Elon bought it, for this reason, he made it so you can no longer see behind the scenes like that. And a lot of places like Facebook sort of followed their lead. The best practices for actually studying what's happening on social media have been turned off. And that's because of the pressure campaign that Elon Musk and Republican lawmakers have been putting on for years and years. So Elon effectively turned off the ability to study the internet and to study Twitter and to study the public conversation. And then afterwards said, why are you scrolling so excessively to find all of these ads? It's because that's the only way to do journalism on that platform right now.
What is Linda Yaccarino, who used to work for NBC Universal, I should add, and left here to go and work there and supposedly to increase their ad revenue, which had been tanking anyway? I think some of the numbers is that it goes down. Here's the ad sales declines. Reuters reported that X's ad revenue has declined at least 55% year over year every month since Elon Musk took it over. What has she told employees internally, and what is she saying about this?
She told employees to start looking around for new kinds of revenue because they're running out of money too fast. And also, they have when some of these brands are still on, when they got re-onboarded from last time that there was a advertiser boycott, one of them was like Visa, and Visa spent $10, not like $10,000. I'm talking $10. So this place is hemorrhaging cash. Now, are they going to be able to survive this? I don't really know. Elon wants to run this as a bare bones operation. But I will say the much scarier part of all this is the preview, the political playbook that's being created here by Elon Musk and the far right. They are going to these Republican AGs and saying, file these frivolous suits. Go after the speech of people that we don't like. Do it on our behalf, even though there's no case here, even though it's ridiculous. That's a preview of 2025. If Trump gets back in office, that's what he wants to do on a state-by-state level. He wants to go after critics of their own under the guise, hilariously, of free speech. I just want people to be aware that if you think you're protected in this environment, the second you start disagreeing with somebody who has too much money, you're not going to be able to do that anymore.
I will also note that according to Semaphore, Twitter has hired, or Ms. Yaccarino has hired her son, who's been tasked with outreach to Republican digital advertising firms and spenders. Just want to throw that out there. Let me go back to you, Angelo. This is what ex-Twitter says they want in this lawsuit: actual and consequential damages caused by the defendant's misconduct, including but not limited to all general and special damages. I don't know what that means. A preliminary and permanent injunction ordering Media Matters to immediately take down and otherwise remove the article talking about what's in their ads from websites and social media accounts. X's cost and attorney's fees, and also further relief that the court deems proper. Your response to that, those demands?
I mean, we reported something that was accurate, that they even acknowledged so. So I really don't understand it. This is like getting mad at a mirror or trying to break a mirror because you don't like the reflection. And that's really what's happening here. And I mean, that's, to me, I think we should get a thank you, because if you look back at the totality of our reporting, they've either had to respond to it or take action on it. We've been doing the work, just like other reporters out there. That the brand safety and trust team used to do at Twitter, that Elon Musk gutted when he took it over, in order to actually help it turn into the increasing cesspool of toxicity and extremism that it is. So, I mean, frankly, I don't see the point here at all, except to do nothing more than silence us. And I think what Ben said is right, and I want to echo it. This is a preview. This is a keyhole view to the future, because it's not just that they enlisted AGs, it's also where they're suing us, how they're proceeding here, and enlisting and marshaling all the forces, both criminal and civil, to try to not just shut us down, but also intimidate us going forward, or make it significantly more difficult for us to do our job. And that's not going to be limited to just us, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think all journalists should pay attention to it. Ben, if you could just briefly explain. I think I do. Oh, you're unfrozen. This strange thing that happened where Elon Musk, who essentially endorsed the idea that Jewish people are pushing white genocide, to then getting praised by the head of the Anti-Defamation League. How did that happen? What is going on there?
Yeah, I would really like an answer to that as well. Elon made a decision to effectively, I actually don't know how if this is toothless or not, but he said that words like decolonization are no longer allowed on the platform, which was applauded by Jonathan Greenblatt. But this happened 2 days after he agreed with the guy who was trying to spell out how Hitler was right on Twitter. So I don't really understand this. There is a much larger question that I would love to ask Jonathan Greenblatt. I would love somebody at our network to ask Jonathan Greenblatt, because I have not heard a reasonable explanation for this. The ADL, by the way, has some outstanding researchers, really good researchers in this space. And I'm sure they don't know what to do, because people like Chaya Raichik, the Libs of TikTok woman, she had a whole basically document worked up about her from the ADL about the extremism of that organization, of that group. And that was just pulled down randomly. They say it's on hold now. So there's something going on at the ADL with Jonathan Greenblatt and being afraid of pressure from the far right. And I don't know what it is, but I would love to hear some answers.
Oh, well, we may want to follow up on that. Very interesting questions. Angelo Carusone, Ben Collins, thank you. We'd love some follow up on all of these issues. So thank you all both very much.